Do it.
So I have some weird questions for you as I watch. I just like to pull things out. Do you like pennies?
Do I like what?
Pennies.
Ah, yes, pennies. They're a lot like pinkies, often in
Yeah,
circulation, but very useless.
that's
That's
right.
so that's like a composite of two real conversations that happened in my real life. My friend used to always jokingly say that he used to always say that pinkies were just like pennies and that they were useless or whatever. And then I said that to a friend at work where I worked at the time, and they responded, well, if you cut off something about like if you cut off your pinkies, then your ring finger, whatever, your next toe over would become your pinky toe, so
Yes,
on and
you
so
go,
forth.
do go through that. Yeah.
So, and then that all just, write what you know, and I that just turned into a bit of fun, back and forth.
Um,
That's from Wash Away. That's a Wash Away scene. That's not a Gouge Away scene.
Family Ties Machine. Is this another one of your films?
So, Family Time Machine is written and directed, second unit directed by Bob Rose, a very good friend of mine, who I've been fortunate enough to collaborate in several different sort of avenues. He's a podcaster. I'm a podcaster. We actually met on a blind podcast date through our
Ah,
friend. So my first experience with this guy was podcasting with him, not seeing him, just over audio. It was so strange. And that was about 5 years ago. And today is his birthday. Happy birthday to Bob Rose. I said to Bob, I said, Bob, because so remember how I told you that Nana and Tony were the movie within the movie, right?
yes.
So that footage that you see of them watching Family Time Machine, that was supposed to be Tony the Stamper and Nana in Bad Nana. That's where I took that from.
Okay.
So now I needed to find a way. It was something like 15 seconds to fill that spot. So I said, Bob, anything you got, anything you want, come up with something really funny and weird. And that's what they'll be watching. And so he brought me Family Time Machine, which I think he made out of stock footage, except you see Bob for a second. I think he's in the thing. And I credited Bob as he came up with this moniker of Lond Pickleman. And I came up with the idea that he's a condiment attorney. And
Yes, you have that in the credits.
yes, that's in the credits because we would always do these jokes about, ridiculous, weird credits. But yeah, so Bob was the second unit director on that. He did a great job. Thank you, Bob.
Okay, running down the street scene. Did anyone notice?
I mean, yeah, of course. We ran, we ran down the streets. It said it was a no budget movie, so we went to downtown White Plains, and he ran down the street in his boxers. I said, "Can you do that for me, Chris? Will you do that?" It's Chris Lavigna. I said, "Could you do it?" He's like, "Yeah, I'll do it." And I was like, "Great, let's do it." So he ran in a bunch of places. A lot of it didn't make the final film, but yeah, we ran through the mall, which was basically a derelict mall at that point, so nobody really cared that we were doing it. And if you'll notice in the background, just a little, it's not really an Easter egg, but it's a detail that I love that nobody would give a flying shit about. But you'll see a sign for a real store called Ishtar's Deli. And
Yes,
anybody who
yes.
knows Ishtar's Deli knows that it's from Blood Feast. And that was a very real deli that was in that place. So I just love that Ishtar's Deli was a real place, that it is in Gouge Away.
Okay, let's back up a bit.
Sure.
Shooting the demolished building. You have a shot of the building being demolished.
Yes,
And did
yes.
you know this was getting demolished or the stock
Mm-mm.
footage? I was trying to figure this out.
So that is real. That is real footage that I shot myself of a building being demolished in downtown White Plains. We were shooting across the street in a parking lot. A lot of the movie, in order to like sort of marry this movie that doesn't exist with this movie that does exist or whatever, or this sequel that we're now turning it into, we needed a bunch of phone conversation scenes to sort of, explain things and, this, that, and the other. So while we're shooting this one, phone call scene, as I call it, I called it connective tissue. It's connective tissue that bridges this footage with this footage and makes this work with this work. And they were demolishing a building across the street, and I was like, this is too good. Not this is like production value. Like this is
Oh, I
we're
agree.
seeing a building just fall, and it's this the YMCA that had been there for years. So it's amazing how Gouge Away is really like in real life. It's this journal of like things that don't exist anymore. It's a real sort of like chapter ending, chapter beginning sort of like thing within like White Plains, not that, whatever, White Plains, New York. These buildings don't exist anymore. This building got knocked down. That building got knocked down. This person died. That person died. Um, I saw that the YMCA was being knocked down. I was like, we'll just cut. I didn't have anything to cut away to. And because you can hear the demolition while we're recording the scene, I was like, might as well show it if you can hear it. So that way it makes more sense. It's the same reason why there's a baseball game. My cameo in the movie at the end is specifically because when we shot the end scene when they're in the park and he takes the guy under his wing who's played by me and they walk off together, there was a
Yes.
baseball game happening across the pond and it was really loud. And I was like, shit, you could hear the baseball. It would make more sense if there was some scene preceding this. Why is this guy upset? So I wrote a scene about this guy being really upset about some bad calls being made at a baseball game. And that's why you still hear the baseball game in the very next scene. So that scene was completely conceived to explain the noise that you hear in the very next scene.
Shooting in the warehouse at night.
The warehouse. Oh. So that's the Westchester Mall, and that's not a warehouse, that's a loading dock. And we
Oh,
were
okay.
not allowed to be there. I used to work there. I worked there for 6 years. And that's where I used to always park my car sometimes. And I was like, this would be a great, I'm gonna put this in a movie someday. And then I needed an exterior for Nana's bird house. So the bird nest is three different places. It's the Westchester Mall exterior. It's my friend Jack's Brooklyn apartment. And it's also this house that I'm in. All of that together makes up the bird nest. And so I only shot there one night, but I ended up using those shots two or three times throughout the movie. So I ended up getting all this mileage just to sort of establish this location that's in a completely different place. And yeah, no security guards stopped us. There was a cop there, and we asked very nicely. We had those fake guns, so I was a little nervous. And Matt was very good at sweet talking the security the cop, and the cop actually left or sorry moved their car to get out of the shot, which was amazing. And we got in there, and were able to shoot, and it was insane. And yeah, that was the warehouse.
I do notice there's tiny bits of CGI, not a lot, little bits.
CGI.
There's
Uh,
no CGI.
no CGI at all.
Hang on. Okay, I'll discuss the point. I'm going to break it down
Please,
now.
yeah, let's do it.
You have
What?
blood squirts going off
Oh,
places.
the blood squirts. Well, I wouldn't call that CGI. That's motion keyframe animation.
Okay, next
That's
time I'll write it
keyed
down as
out.
motion keyframe
That's keyed
animation.
out. Yeah, but that's not computer
I thought it
generated. That's
was.
no, that was all shot against a green screen.
Okay.
That was all shot against the green screen, and then I didn't shoot it. It was stock. Bob Rose gave it to me. And because you know what happened, once again, I ran out of time. I didn't have a way of having the blood come out, and I was like, "Shit, what am I going to do?" And I was like, "Fuck it, I'll fix it in post." I didn't have time. I had 6 weeks to get this movie finished for to screen in a movie theater. You know what I mean? Like it was, I had to have a DCP struck and everything. It was crazy. So, I'm not happy with the way that looks, actually. It's probably one of my least favorite shots to look at. It's really shitty, actually. If it was in black and white, it would have been a little bit better. But
It
it's
does stand out. I'll give you that. I do
yeah,
notice it
so you
doesn't
thought it
feel
was
like the rest
jarring.
of the film.
What can I do?
I made a
I'm one
note. That
man.
tells you I found it jarring if I made a note.
Yeah, no. I 100%. But I'm just saying, what can I do? I'm one man trying to make a
No, I'm
miracle.
not
Oh,
faulty.
no. I
It's
didn't think you
okay.
were either.
Okay, good. Because
No.
independent film, I just make notes. That's all I do.
No, 100, no, 100%.
Okay, good.
What does make it, no, I'm in fact, I'm in agreement with you. I too, for me, it's the one, it's one part of the movie that bums me out a little bit because I just wish I could have done it better. The, but what I do love is the shots of him eating the guts that come right after.
That's
I thought,
after.
yeah, that worked a lot. That was more effective. So I feel like
That
it's a
looked
good,
more real to me. That looked like
yeah.
hands on. That wasn't added in.
Yeah, that wasn't add in. That was happening in real time, 2 a.m. I still have blood stains on the ceiling in my
Oh
dining room.
crap.
But yes, that really did happen. And what I mean to say is that it looked a lot. I feel like it looked a lot. It compensates a little bit for that, you know, that the blood squirts. Which again, if I could go back in time, I probably would have done something differently. But I thought in my head, you live, you learn. You live, you learn.
Okay. We're near the end. There's a backdrop that's
Sure.
very pink.
Be more specific.
Oh, I don't want to ruin it. We're at the eating scene. It's all these
Spoilers,
weird.
spoilers. You can
Oh, okay.
spoiler. Fuck it.
There's a
Who
pink
cares?
backdrop right near the end. It's very pinkish.
Well,
And he's
if you
eating in front of it.
oh, so that okay, so that's just a space blanket that I shriveled up and taped against the wall.
I'm
And
gonna ask you what a space blanket is because I don't even know what that is.
a space blanket is an aluminum, a very thin aluminum blanket that you use. It's an emergency blanket. You use it in
Oh,
emergency situations. They're very
yes.
compact and
I know what you're talking
just yeah,
about.
use when you get rescued and you get that shiny foil blanket. That's it was just
Yes.
a couple of those taped
So
together.
did you run a pink light off it then, or is
I
that
sure
done?
did. Yeah, I put some pink lights right off just to sort of give it a little texture. And the thing was, I didn't have a set. And again, all that's detailed in Kuyashi Gonzo, Blood Visions of Chaos Magic. When you watch the movie and you see me like I'm literally just trying to figure out the Kuyashi Gonzo, Blood Visions of Chaos Magic. I kept a video journal the entire production process, not thinking it would ever see the light of day. It was for my own personal like just whatever. And then as I was doing the behind the scenes, because I'm gonna put this out on Blu-ray, and I was going, Jesus Christ, the entire story of how this movie was made is in these journals. I think I could tell that story too, and that might be interesting. So I did. And that's what Kuyashi Gonzo is. So in Kuyashi Gonzo, it was like 1 a.m. I'm trying to like make this set. It's not working. And I'm like, you know what? We're just going to throw up some space blankets and we'll shoot it really sort of shallow depth of field. And it'll just look, you won't be able to tell what it is. And to
No, I
truth be
couldn't.
told, yeah, you couldn't. You're just in a lawn, you're just in a space place. That's it.
As an independent filmmaker, how many times do you think during a production you have to think quickly? Like
I
Space
mean,
Blanket, I need to do this. Like
constantly.
I want to know how you think of that so quickly, like to
I,
get out of situations.
I keep referencing this thing, but this is like literally what this movie is about. Is Kuyashi Gonzo Blood Visions, the word chaos magic is what it is.
Yeah,
What
I agree.
happens is in the chaos, you find magic. And the end of the movie, and I said at the end of the movie, we had a really harrowing final day. We started the day with a flat tire before we even shot a single stitch of footage. There was a monsoon came down on us when we were supposed to be shooting outside. Because of the generosity of this bar owner, we were able to shoot under. So all the scenes, like the very end scene when he's consoling
Yes.
her under the thing, that was after a massive. We weren't supposed to shoot there, and by chance this bartender led us into his place and I was able to shoot there as the rain is pouring down around us. That was not intended at all. And if you'll notice the opening scene where she shows him the mask, and
Yes.
again, the mask was another way to tie the old footage to the new footage together. I didn't say that before in the sense that I forgot that there's all these scenes with the mask, and that's sort of like Stanley had. I don't have Stanley again. I don't have Jacob as Stanley, but I have his mask. So if the mask almost represents Stanley and sort of marries together the fact that hey, they're looking for this guy Stanley. So um that opening shot at the picnic table where she hands him the mask, That was moments before a monsoon came down in buckets over the summer, and we had to go under the whatchamacallit. We went under the awning of this bar that God bless this bartender. And I ordered a bunch of food. We had to feed the crew and the cast, right? So I ended up ordering, like, all this food. I gave him some business and he let me shoot there. It was such an amazing situation. And the lesson that I learned, that I say at the end of the movie to bring it back around, how do you think of this stuff, is first step is you have to remain calm. You can't freak out. You have to remain calm. So often in crazy situations, there's an equally crazy solution that will present itself, sometimes almost instantaneously, if you are calm enough and you can look for it. If you're not calm, then you are going to, if you rile yourself up. And, that's what allows for I call it, that's the creative intuition. You have an intuitive nature to creatively come up with a solution in order to solve a problem. In some cases, like, remember I told you it took me almost a year and a half to figure out how to finish the movie.
Hmm.
Some cases that creative intuition could take a long time. And some cases, almost instantaneously, you figure out, okay, can't do this, let's do this instead. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but that's what makes it into chaos magic. And, David Lynch, are you a David Lynch man, Simon?
I know who he is.
David Lynch, incredible filmmaker, he talks about in his book called Catching the Big Fish. He meditates every single day. He was doing it 20 minutes twice a day. I don't have that kind of time. I do 20 minutes once a day. For the last year, I
Oh,
meditate 20 minutes every day. And I'll tell you something, that has taken that sort of mindset and power, or whatever, that ability, and expanded it. It really does. I remain calm. I'm able to come up with solutions or make connections that were not there before, because I'm like allowing my mind to grow and expand through this like calm practice of meditation. And that has really, really helped.
what was the blood made out of?
The blood was made in which scene, particularly at
Last
the end?
one, the end.
Okay, that's Jello food
Really?
coloring. Yeah, that's just Jello food coloring, chocolate sauce.
Aha.
And the trick is you want to take brown chocolate sauce, obviously, Hershey syrup. Take a brown Hershey syrup and then just keep beating in red food dye. And you get this really
Interesting.
grotesque, violent, it's like a
Oh,
violent blood. It's very
yes, I
visceral
like it.
and it's dark too. And you see it, oh, the blood that's on him when he after he kills the guys and he comes down the
Yes,
stairs. Yeah, same mixture, same exact mixture. It's just Hershey's chocolate syrup, and you just if it was black and white, I would have just done Hershey's chocolate syrup, but because there was color, I hit it with that red over and over and over again, just to get this. It's like lifeblood, dark lifeblood. That, yeah, visceral.
okay, time for fun questions.
Yeah, I love fun questions.
Again,
This is
favorite
this
film,
whole thing was
please.
fun.
That's good, but this isn't for me. Your favorite film?
I can't say that I'm going to be that loser that says I don't have a favorite film,
Yeah, you
because
can say
it's
that.
I
I
love
accept
all
that as an
favorite.
answer.
I love movies, but I'll tell you this: if push comes to shove, Simon, you put a gun to my head and you say, "What's your favorite film?" I'm going to tell you it's Night of the Living Dead from 1968, hands
Perfect.
down.
I accept that as an answer.
There you go.
Because you're a cinematographer, what's your favorite cinematography in the movie? Best cinematography.
Oh man, that's like asking me what's my favorite song by my favorite band, dude. Like, that's like asking me which is my favorite Beatles song. All of them, man. I can't, there's no definitive one.
Give me
I
a
love and
couple then to
appreciate.
watch.
Okay, so The Cook, the Thief, His Wife, Her Lover by Peter Greenaway. I don't know the cinematographer off the top of my
1990s.
1980 1989.
89, okay. It's pretty close.
Just a visual orgasm, if you will. Really Kubrickian, big colors, like insane color palette. It's not an insane color palette. It's actually a very simple color palette, but it's just very segregated. So one room is red and the bathroom is white and the kitchen is green and the everybody's clothes change in accordance with what, like if you have like a white sash in the bathroom, your sash becomes green when you enter the kitchen or red when you enter the dining hall. It's
Oh,
just
fascinating.
oh, it's friggin' incredible. I would also say um Le Belle et la Beast, Le Belle et la Bête, I think is the
I
French
have
way of
never
saying
heard of this.
it's Beauty and the Beast by Jean Cocteau.
I've never seen
And
it.
it's from 1947, and the cinematography is breathtaking and phantasmagorical. I can't recommend that enough. Um, uh, Honestly, this is gonna sound crazy, street trash, man.
I've
Because
seen Street Trash.
the steady cam operation is amazing. The film is made, it's basically like a New York, sleazy New York version of Pulp Fiction from 1987. The splatterific color palette is insane. You have these weird blues and purples and pinks and yellows that are just really, really great. That really contrasts against the crumbling, sleaze of New York in the late 80s. I would say, Kill Bill Volume One and Two. Just, I mean, what is there not to say about how great that is? From Dusk Till Dawn, Robert Rodriguez from Dusk Till Dawn. He shot that movie, and that movie is just the cinematography in that film is unreal. I'd also say the same for Desperado. His cinematography in Desperado is unbelievable. I really could go on and on and on.
Got it. I had a third question, but I think you answered. Now I gotta think of something else. One band you would recommend people listen to that don't.
One band.
Yeah, I'll give you that one.
Um, Well, music is very subjective, but if you want to
I
listen to a
know.
band that,
Well, I've
okay,
seen your film. I kind of have some idea what you would like, so
all right.
let's
Well,
go
the
off
the
that.
the movie is named after a Pixie song called "Gouge Away," and "Gouge Away," and the Pixies are one of my favorite bands of all time. They're surrealists in a way. The lyrics are surreal. The guitars are angular. Do you listen to the Pixies at all, Simon?
I do listen to
Oh,
Pixies,
you
and that's why I'm
do.
smiling.
So Simon, what's your favorite Pixies record? Do you have one?
That's not them. Planet of Sound, is that it?
That would be Trump Le Monde.
Trump
That's the
Lamont,
record
that's
that
the
has
one.
Planet of Sound. Yeah.
That's the one. I love that album.
Great record. Great record.
So I
That's their
had to
fifth
think. I just
record.
remember the song. We're
Yeah.
going back to the 90s when I was out all the time. I
Yeah.
know I listened to the Pixies all the time, and I knew it was this one
Yeah,
album they
dude.
played.
I mean, I love that entire those first five records. Come on, Pilgrim, Surfer Rosa, Doolittle, Bossa Nova, and Trump Le Monde. You could start from the very first note of Caribou to the very last note of the Navajo No. I will listen to the entire canon of the Pixies in sequential order and love every second of it. The lyrics are and inspire imagery, which in turn inspires creativity. And I love the Pixies.
Okay, tell everybody where they can find your stuff.
I mean, you can go to frumess.com, frumess.com, frumess.com. You can get 1,000 stickers for $79 with free shipping if you go to riotstickers.com and you go to riotstickers.com/frumess. That's FRUMESS. So if you want some extra features, stickers, 3 inch by 3 inch on vinyl, you just go Sharpie Riot. He'll hook you up. He's the man. You get 1,000 stickers. Go to riotstickers.com/frumess. And if you like hearing me talk endlessly and incessantly, then check out my YouTube channel where I podcast constantly for the last 5 years. I've done over 1,000 shows and I talk about movies. I talk about Pixies. I have free feature films that I've made on there. So if you want to see Romeo's Distress, if you want to see Koyashi Gonzo, you can watch there. You go to youtube.com/Frumess. That's FRUMESS. And you can hear me talk forever, pretty much forever, if you wanted to on that channel. So subscribe.
Thank you for your time and have a great night.
Thank you. Thank you, Simon. This was great.